I was so determined to never share this story. I don't want the backlash, and I'm sure nobody will believe me, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. My life has been a miserable existence for the past 12 years, and I'm ready to share why. You can tell by the title that 12 years ago, I made the shitty decision to cheat on my lovely wife, Kristen. She's perfect in every way, and under normal circumstances, this idea wouldn't have ever crossed my mind. But 12 years ago, we lost a child. Our 5-year-old daughter, Amara. I loved her with every fiber of my being. She was radiant, funny, and taken far too soon. A drunk driver did it, and the rage almost drove me to insanity. I went to therapy for the anger, and eventually forgave him. Always miss my little girl. For the first couple months after her death, nothing in my life felt normal. Least of all, my relationship with my wife. There was almost no conversation, no laughter, and zero intimacy. Once me and Kristen had worked through the initial grief, I thought her sex drive might return, but to no avail. Anytime I tried to get her going or lead her into anything more than a makeout session, she would pull away and put everything to a halt. Obviously, I never wanted to make her do anything she doesn't want to, but I had my needs and was determined to get them met. Enter Vicky. Sexy, young, fierce, and untouched by the tragedy of child loss. I know I was in the wrong and an asshole, but please just listen. I started meeting Vicky after work every other day to hook up. At first, it was purely sexual satisfaction, but eventually, it became something more. I would tell her things. She would listen with such earnest eyes. I could feel her heartbeat, and it would all just spill out of me. I always had the suspicion that Kristen knew about my affair. Our marriage had become loveless, and after 2 years, I stopped feeling the guilt. Texts between me and my wife still said I love you, and I still got her flowers on her birthday. But all emotion towards Kristen had died. Vicky was all I cared about now. Everything I used to do with Kristen, I now did with her. I was enjoying life again, and had everything I could ever want. Until 2 days ago, after 12 years of pulling of this affair with no repercussions, I truly didn't think anything bad could come of it. Vicky doesn't want marriage, and my wife had never spoken of divorce. So when I came home a couple days ago, I didn't expect to see Kristen sitting in our living room, sobbing. "What's wrong, dear?" I asked, a mundane response. But after a long day of work, it was the only one I had energy to give. Kristen jumped slightly, like she didn't realize I'd come home, and when she looked up at me, I was surprised. She was smiling. "Kristen." There was a question in my voice, although I wasn't sure what exactly it was I was asking. She wiped her tears and stood to embrace me.
Welcome home from work, my love. Are you hungry? I made supper.
Kristen had never made me a meal in the history of our marriage, even before the affair, even before Amara died. Sure, I didn't know how to handle this version of my wife. She was almost loving, hopeful. She moved around the kitchen with a purpose and gave me loving glances. I almost left purely from the discomfort of her love. I was so cold and unused to this affection from her that it was unsettling. After an interesting dinner, we went up to our bedroom. I turned out my lamp and started to scroll on my phone when Kristen turned on the bathroom light. I didn't pay attention to her, as she always showers before bed.
Mar.
I looked up and was shocked. The shower was on and steaming, and Kristen was there, in lingerie. I wasn't sure exactly how I should react, but it didn't take her much coaxing. Who was I to argue? The next morning, there was a note on my desk. Have a good day at work, honey. At the salon, I love you. I wasn't sure what to make of the note, so I threw it away before going to the bathroom to shave and get ready. When I walked through the bathroom door, though, I froze. Sitting on the sink was Amara's old hairbrush. A huge jumble of emotions rapidly coursed through my body, but overwhelmingly I felt confused. 1, because Amara was dead. Although it isn't completely out there to say Kristen put that brush there. But 2, we threw out all of Amara's old things. The memories were too painful. I hadn't seen this brush in years, and seeing it now was so startling that I could only throw it in the trash. I wanted to text Kristen about it, but couldn't bring myself to. I didn't want to drag up old memories if it wasn't necessary. Trudging down the stairs, after I got ready, I went to put on my shoes when the floorboards creaked behind me. "Hello," I called, but no one answered. I chalked it up to paranoia and continued to grab my coat. As I shut the front door, though, I could have sworn I heard a quiet giggle. After my unsettling experience at home, I was eager to get to work, but unfortunately, work that day was uninteresting, and I was bored out of my mind the whole time. All I wanted to do was see Vicky, but after texting her to hang out, she said she had a meeting at her office. I was upset, but found solace in the fact that I would get to see her tomorrow. I walked through the door earlier than usual since Vicky was busy, and was immediately met by Kristen. She put her hand to her heart, and her eyes shined with happy tears.
It worked!
Her voice was brighter than on our wedding day, and I had no idea what to make of it. What worked?
I wasn't sure it would, but now that it has, I can tell you, come here.
Kristen grabbed my hand and started to drag me towards the kitchen. My mind was racing. What could she want? She hasn't been so excited about anything in ages. My mind raced as we reached the dining room, and Kristen halted me before I could walk in. She was trembling, and her smile was so wide I thought her face might split in half.
Did you see Vicky today?
My heart plummeted. I always had suspected she knew of my affair, but hearing her say it so bluntly when we'd never discussed him before threw me for a loop. And no. I stuttered, but her smile didn't break. If anything, it got wider.
I'm the reason why.
What do you mean?
You started seeing her because of me. I stopped wanting you after Amara died. Her death killed our relationship, killed your love for me. It made me realize that the only way you'd love me is with her. With Amara.
Kristen's eyes were crazed, and my heart began to pound. So
I brought her back.
my heart was racing now, beating harder than ever before in my life. My breath was bated, and I suddenly felt the difference in the house. It was dead quiet, apart from my breathing. Cold air flowed from the dining room to where we stood, and I pushed Kristen aside to walk closer. Rounding the corner, I prayed to every god, any god, that my wife was crazy. But I entered the room, and my daughter was sitting at the table,